Hello, and welcome to Narrative Tales, where I take my sessions from our favorite dice rolling game and turn it into the story that we're trying to tell. So if you don't have the time to sit down and listen to a long actual play session, or you simply want to hear a nice story, sit down and listen to this episode of Narrative Tales. When we last saw our heroes, the party members were introduced in a small mining town called Corora. They gathered information on an attack on the miners, convinced a member of the Shadow Fist to allow them to solve their issue, headed down into the mine, and slayed the Dark Stalker terrorizing the mines. As the newly found party enters the city, Drock enters the city with the same thought that he enters all cities with. Places with drink is where people talk. Stopping at a nearby, more dingy tavern with no name, Albus stops Drock. "I'm going to head to the school. I've got a friend there I haven't seen in a while. I'll be here." Drock goes in, sits down at a lone table, and orders a drink. It smells slightly of dingy water and alcohol. He begins to listen, but either the tavern is a bit too chaotic to hear anything, or nothing of interest is being discussed. He listens to various discussions that don't pertain to anything important for a while before a commotion arises. Drock looks over to see a patron drunkenly hit another patron. He goes to stand up, but the drunk is promptly thrown out of the tavern before he has time to get up and deal with it. He stays there for a while, finishing his drink. He begins feeling tired, becomes lethargic, and his eyes begin drooping as he tries to maintain consciousness. Then, nothing. Drock's eyes begin slowly opening, and he groggily begins to look around. He's not at the tavern. He goes to get up, but as he gets up, the ropes pull against his arms, chest, and ankles. He is bound to a wooden chair. As panic sets in, he goes to reach for a dagger to cut himself loose, but he can't reach it, and it's gone. He looks around to see his armor and pack sitting in the corner of the empty room. The room is eerily empty, cleaned of dust and well maintained, but empty. He looks forward to see another chair with someone sitting in it, shrouded in shadow and a cloak pulled over their head. "About time you woke up. I was beginning to wonder if my guy gave me some bad stuff. You know, it's amazing what can be done with a couple gold to a drunk and a quick dose of some sleeping powder in your drink can get you. Then all I had to do was pretend to take my drunk friend home. Sorry, it has the effect of memory loss for a short time before you pass out." And now angry Drock snaps at him. "What do you want?" The stranger continues on. "So, a warden, huh? What exactly is a warden doing here? You warden in your strict code and your we are the arbiters against evil for the natural order and inquisitor of evil BS. Is Artemis still being the almighty mentor of you all? Anyways, now that you're here tied to a chair, tell me, warden, what do you do?" The figure pulls a long staff up and puts it in his face. "What do you do, warden?" Drock glares up at his aggressor. He smacks Drock with the staff, not enough to really hurt him. He's holding back. "What do you do, warden?" "I'm tied to a chair. What do you want me to do?" "You're supposed to be an oh-so-powerful warden. You tell me." The figure smacks him twice more. The second strike sends a shockwave through Drock's body, but he shakes it off. He's still holding back. Drock knows this person wants him to fight, but he doesn't want to show him what he's capable of. He hits him twice more. This time the same shockwave pulses through Drock's body and his muscles tense up for a short time. For this duration, if he wasn't tied to a chair, he would probably be unable to move. "Come on, warden." Having had enough of being taunted, Drock rips out of his bindings and punches the cloaked figure across the jaw, landing a solid hit. The figure, seemingly unfazed by the blow, begins to chuckle as he lowers his hood to reveal his face. "It's nice to see you, Drock." A familiar half-elven face is revealed. Vandarin, a warden who ventured out when Drock first started his training. Drock's face continues to show no emotion. "So, do you want to tell me why you drugged me and tied me to a chair?" "It was all in a bit of fun with an old friend." "I believe there would have been better ways to accomplish that." "Yeah, maybe, but what would be the fun in that?" "Fun? This is what you think fun is?" "Well, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. I just thought it might be a fun way to say hello to an old friend." "How exactly did you know I was here?" "Wardens have a certain presence they bring when they enter a place. You were hard to miss." "You talk as if you're not one of us anymore." "Well, I have been doing other work." "What do you mean, other work? When is the last time you've seen Artemis?" "It's been quite some time, honestly. I kind of stopped contacting him some time ago. I grew tired of how restrictive the code was. I found I could make much more coin by taking jobs, regardless of the morality." "So, you're no longer a warden?" "Unofficially, I suppose." "So you've abandoned the code for what? Greed?" A look of disgust and disappointment is apparent in Drock's face. Vandarin does not reply. "How do I get out of here?" Vandarin motions to the front door. Drock turns and begins to walk out. He opens the door, and as he takes his first step across the threshold, "Hey." Drock turns to look at Vandarin. Vandarin's face has a solemn look. "Given my line of work now, I guess I won't be needing this anymore." And he tosses a pendant towards Drock. The pendant is roughly a star shape with rounded edges and has a dull red emerald in it. This is Vandarin's pendant from the Wardens. It glows when you're in the presence of evil. A look is shared between the two before Drock continues out the door. As Albus enters the main doors of Upuxarth, the arcane school he once attended, he takes a moment to take in a breath and look up to ready himself to enter the building. Looking up, he sees where the top of the tower was broken off. He enters the building and sees Aurelel speaking to some guests. It takes just a few moments before she looks over and recognizes Albus as he stands there patiently waiting, not wanting to interrupt that conversation. The light blue-skinned elf excuses herself from the conversation and briskly walks over to greet Albus. "Albus, it's so nice to see you." "It's nice to see you too, Aurelel." "Come with me to my chambers. Let's go somewhere a bit more private." Aurelel leads Albus off to the right of the large hall of the magic school. She opens the door and they both enter. In the chambers, it's quite cozy. A bed, a study, several bookshelves filled with books, as well as a large shelf storing many random items and trinkets. "So what brings you here, Albus? I haven't seen you since they drug you out of the school." "Oh, you know, just wandering around from place to place to find anything interesting going on. I recently killed a dogstalker in Karora in the mines." "Oh, wow. Are you still staying with the Krons?" "No, fortunately." "So what brings you here?" "I actually came to see if you could tell me what this stuff is. I know it's expensive and magical, but I don't know what it does or how to use it." Albus pulls out the pouch of the green crystal they were rewarded with from Karora. "I was hoping you had a book or something I could study on it, so I can learn." "Ah, what you have there is Vertiflux. Essentially, it's a catalyst for magic." "What do you want to know about it?" "What does it do? How do I use it?" "Well, for starters, it can store magic. It's what was used to keep the flying cities afloat back before the fall. You can also use it as a literal catalyst. You can take a bit of it, and whenever you cast a spell, it will make the spell's effects much stronger. It can also be used in the place of expensive spell components, like diamonds. Oh, okay. Do you have like a book I could study more on it? What I just told you is pretty much all it does. It's also worth quite a bit of gold. Check this out. She turns to retrieve a fist-sized example of Vertiflux from one of the shelves behind her. I got this magnificent piece from an auction. I paid a pretty good amount of gold for it. It's one of the biggest examples of a natural form crystal of Vertiflux I have ever seen. Normally it only comes in the powder form like what you have after it has been refined. The only time you'll see examples of this much bigger are like at the museum where one of the lodestones were excavated up from the flying cities. It is believed those are naturally occurring, but it's unclear where they could have possibly came from. Something about what went haywire with magic back 2,000 years ago caused it to become inert and all of its abilities lost. Believe me, the curator has let me try. Thank you for the information. You're welcome. It was good to see you, Albus. Really. Albus turns to walk out of Aurelio's chambers, but is stopped. Hey, before you go, I gotta give you something. Fenquin and Yennis, your parents, were great magic practitioners. When they died at the Visseltor's castle, they asked only one thing, that I would look after you. Aurelio reaches up to a nearby shelf. They asked that whatever it is that you choose to become, I make sure you are able to achieve that which it is you desire. When you are ready, come to me, and I will fulfill your parents' wish. Until that day, take these. They belong to your mother and father. These are their spell focuses in your father's journal. She hands Albus a small wooden box containing an intricately carved runic ring and a small, well-carved wooden wand. These will serve no purpose to you, but they are rightfully yours to do as you will. Your father also kept a journal on his research. I have not opened his journal out of respect, but I believe he is working on something great. I hope to see you again soon, Albus. Take care. Albus leaves Upuxearth and begins making his way back to the tavern he left Drock at. Meanwhile, Drock begins to find his way to Upuxearth. Going back to that tavern doesn't seem like the ideal thing to do at the moment. Asking around and beginning to gain his bearings back, he begins heading to Upuxearth to find Albus. Albus, on his trek back to the tavern, sees Drock heading in his direction. When they meet up, Albus notices Drock's condition. You look like you've seen better days. An old friend of mine decided to come say hello. He just decided to do it in an odd fashion. What happened? He drugged me, tied me to a chair, and kept hitting and taunting me. He used to be a warden. Do you want to go find him and figure out what his deal is? No, not yet. I don't know what his motives are. We'll deal with it when the time comes. Alright, well, where to next? I guess we go see Lydia. Traveling to Brackhill Keep, Albus and Drock walk up to the king's castle through the massive defensive walls and tall portcullis. A slimmer man dressed in a similarly dark-stained armor and clothing greets them at the door. Hello, what business do you have here today? We're looking for the Shadow Fists. Lydia told us to come see her if we were looking for some work. Ah, are you two the Wardens she was speaking of? Drock sighs. It's the Wardens. My apologies. She must have told me wrong. She just arrived earlier today. I'll take you to her. Albus and Drock make their way around the castle to the Shadow Fists compound, led by the apparent member of the Shadow Fists. Upon entering the door, he yells for Lydia. Lydia, you have some guests. Glances at Drock. Wardens? Lydia appears from a room out of sight and greets the two. I didn't expect to see you here so soon. Are you here for some work? They both nod in agreement. Excellent. I've got a few things available for you to do. Feel free to pick and choose as you see fit. You said you were monster hunters, correct? Monsters are definitely things my group deals in, but really we target evil in general. You understand not all monsters are evil, right? Just like not all people who do evil things are evil, and just as easily people can be monsters too. I'm well aware, thank you. Anyway, I've got a few things here, the first of which is Kerburn is having a problem completing some of their festivities. Be aware that we do not judge their lifestyles. The goal of this is to solve their problem, not try to fix what you or I may think is wrong. Kerburn is a unique city in which it's quite large, but it's a big ring. The center of the city is all forest. They have a ceremony of sorts where they send volunteering participants into the center of their city once a year. The last one to leave is giving nobility for them and their family. This activity has apparently gone on for too long, and nobody has come out of the forest. They've apparently investigated somewhat and found a few of the bodies, but none of the others are anywhere to be found. It's your job to enter the forest in the center of town and find the missing participants to bring an end to their yearly festivities. Again, we aren't here to judge. This is socially accepted behavior in this city. Just do what you're asked and get paid. The second is a bit more mysterious. There have been several murders around town. This isn't entirely unusual being the large city we are, but they seem purposeful. This is evident by the single dagger found laying next to the body. Find out what information you can and get back to me so we can think of about how we may end whatever it is going on. This is an ongoing case that we have. The third is some of the homeless in the worst parts of the city have started going missing. Occasionally things happen, but usually there are bodies to find, or they just decide to wander off somewhere else. There's some talk about a mysterious and well-dressed person coming and speaking to some of the missing people before they vanish days or even weeks later. I'm not sure if those two things are related, but it sure seems suspicious. The final thing I have is the local farmer's cattle have been periodically found mangled and half-eaten. This one seems a bit up your alley. Just figure out what's messing with the man's cattle and end it by whatever means is necessary. Tell me about the murders. What's with the daggers? Do they have any distinguishable markings or anything? Are they murder weapons? No, actually, they're just a plain, clean dagger, seemingly thrown down by the body after the deed is committed. I have one here if you'd like to look for yourself. Lydia hands Drock a dagger. It is as she described, plain. So, it's a calling card? Could be, we aren't sure. Do you know if this is a group or a single person committing these murders? Really, that's all the information we have to work with right now. We're depending on you to get us more. There doesn't seem to be any meaning or specific distinguishing features of the victims, just a single dagger left with the body. Completely unrelated. Do you recognize the name Vanderen? No? Should I? Never mind. Can we just take them all, or is this just one at a time? Take all that you like. The jobs just need done. Drock and Albus leave the Shadowfist headquarters. What do you want to do, Drock? Well, the farmer's cattle seems pretty straightforward, but the one in Kerburn really piques my interest. I'm with you. I don't care what we do. I say we head to Kerburn and figure that out. I need to go see my mentor, and that city is on the way. Alright, let's go.